could just fucking start it over. What's going on, folks? Welcome to another episode of Off the Couch Boxing. I am your host, Reckless Rex Ruger, along with the Alexis Arguello puppet, a.k.a. the Nicaraguan Nightmare.
And I'm your other host, Frankie the Flamethrower, Frank Benji's, back with another episode.
And as you can see, good news, folks. The Alexis Arguello puppet in training as we speak, as am I. I don't know what I'm in training for, but yeah. So today, man, unlike what people are usually accustomed to from the Off the Couch Boxing podcast, no guest in this episode because sometimes we have to bump our gums too, man. And we're let's face it, man. We're more experts than the fighters themselves. They don't know what they're talking about. No, I'm just kidding. No, all the guys we come on here, man. Whether they currently fight or they have fought. Always love and respect their opinions and love to hear their viewpoints on and their slants on what's going on in the game right now. But let's face it, nobody talks like we talk.
Well, don't give yourself too big of a head there, Rex.
No, I'm not. I can't help it. I'm all fucking fired up. I think it's because I got the camouflage hat on tonight. I'm ready to go to war. And speaking of wars, man, we just saw the War of War, the kind of card that we should see all the time, man. The kind of card that that commands your pay-per-view dollars. You know what I mean? A card that's actually stacked. Not where we see the first three fights and we think, I didn't know any of these guys. And granted, if you're a hardcore fan, you might not think that way of any card that you ever watch. But there are lots of people out there, who want a little more bang for the buck. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to see three or four lousy fights. In their mind, lousy fights anyway. I don't consider myself any fight that I watch in a boxing ring ever to be a lousy fight. But to the person that's plopping down their money, you just think that they look at a card and they think, geez, man, like I wish this was a little more stacked.
Right.
But we saw it.
A couple more names I recognized.
Yeah. But we saw it finally. Saudi Arabia, Day of Reckoning, they got it right. They got it right. They gave us a very pleasant afternoon / early evening of boxing. Another great thing about the Saudi Arabian card. Starts at a reasonable time. We can all be tucked in bed, smiling and having sweet dreams of the card we just saw. And all is well.
There's nothing like watching knockouts around dinner time.
Yeah. And that card started out, I believe, 8 fights total. I believe the first 5 or 4 all ended in knockouts.
Yep. And
there's a lot to unpack there, man. And I'd have to say, I'm trying to think of some of the takeaways here, man. Jai Opatai, of course, his train continued to roll on. The big surprise early on was seeing one of the most terrifying guys in the heavyweight division, Arslanbek Makhmudov, taking his first L.
Yeah, I believe his first L, yeah, and by knockout, right?
Got knocked out in round 4, I believe. This was just a guy that was just on a trajectory of just going through the heavyweight division like a knife through hot butter. And suddenly, Caballo, and forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. Caballo, I can't. Cayabo, I believe is his name. I should fact check here now. Let me get my Grant glasses on here, man. You hold us down for a minute.
He definitely, whoever he is, he definitely stunted Makhmudov's run right now of being an absolute terrifying prospect.
Yeah, he doesn't look so...
so crazy and unbeatable now.
No. Well, yeah, he doesn't look so crazy and unbeatable now. Still looks menacing enough to me, though. Jesus Christ, I wouldn't want to meet up with him in a dark alley or a well-lit alley, for that matter.
Me neither.
So, yeah, I want to say that... Okay, so in the beginning, we saw, we'll just recap for people here because I've got the results in front of me. Frank Sanchez, of course, another guy, another young heavyweight climbing the ranks, TKO'd Junior Fa, round 7 of 10. Then we saw Filip Hrgovic defeated Mark Demori. That was a TKO in round 1. pretty expected. Jai Opatai, as I said, a KO in round 1 over Ellis Zorro to retain the ring cruiserweight title. And then, yes, I had it right. Ajit Kabayel defeats Arslanbek Makhmudov. TKO round 4.
Yeah.
Now we get to the top 4 fights of the card, and I don't mean to impugn those fights by any means because they were all great fights. So up to this point, we got 4 in the books. They've all been knockouts. So I guess it was the first 5 fights, because then the next fight we saw was Triple D, Daniel Dynamite Dubois knocking out Big Baby Jarrell Miller in round 10 of 10.
Yeah, with like 8 seconds left.
Yeah. Couldn't have let the guy just finish, for God's sakes. But, hey, I'm not here to second guess the referees, man. I'm here to say that congrats to Daniel Dubois. I'm not the world's biggest Daniel Dubois fan. But full disclosure, I was definitely rooting for Big Baby. Like Big Baby a lot. Came in at a career high, I believe, 333 pounds. Almost a full 100 pounds more than Daniel Dubois. Might have been too much weight. I don't want to second guess him or what kind of camp that he had or whatever, man.
I was going to say, I think it showed.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly did. Certainly not in the stamina department, but he always comes in or around the 300-pound mark, and he certainly has always proven that he has a very good engine. But, Daniel Dubois was really coming in to prove something. He knew that if he took another L, it was probably going to be the end of him being mentioned in the same breath as other elite heavyweights, at least.
Right.
He was right on that cusp. I believe he was 19-2 coming into that fight. Really couldn't take a third.
No, definitely not.
No, you don't want to go to the Vasily Lomachenko fucking school of fucking career moves and say, geez, I want to be 20 fights in and have 3 losses. Not that Lomachenko probably ever planned that, but I mean, here we are, man. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The career's on.
And if Dubois would have lost to fucking that guy who's like just a fucking clown, kind of. Not to knock anybody, but he's been kind of, known to be kind of dirty.
Who?
Big Baby Jarrell Miller.
Yeah. But, that was certainly a fight that I was looking at with a lot of intrigue. And then we saw, right before we saw the co-main event and the main event, we saw a person who's on a lot of people's pound-for-pound list, Dimitri Bivol, against Lyndon Arthur. That went all the way to the cards. Granted, it was a UD by Bivol over 12 rounds, man, but probably a few different times in that fight had a chance to put him away and didn't really show much
ability to do that. Yeah.
Finish. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely is
still a master class. I don't want to say that it wasn't. He really dominated it from wire to wire.
Great accuracy on his punches.
Yeah, but I don't know if he wants to be in there with a wrecking crew like Beater BF. And that's the fight that everybody wants to see at light heavyweight. And that's barring that Beater BF, does his part next month or in January here against Callum Smith, which is no easy task. But yeah, Bivol did look he still looked phenomenal and almost superhuman. But then all of a sudden he didn't look so Superman, because you're thinking like, God, he had this guy in a lot of precarious spots, man, but couldn't seem to step on the gas and get him out of there. And that's not taking anything away from Lyndon Arthur. Obviously a tough competitor, man. Highly ranked and in there with Bivol for good reason. But
same thing I thought when Haney and Prograis fought. I thought he should have got him out of there and just never tried. Never could.
Yeah. And of course, we don't want to make that sound like it's just an easy thing. Like, oh, just get a guy out of there. Just fucking, dispense of them. It's not always as easy as it sounds.
But it's once you got a guy hurt, it becomes a little easier.
Yeah. But then again, man, it's I don't know. I feel like Bivol had him against the ropes a couple times and could certainly see out of his peripheral that the referee was looking to jump in there, man. But then he always seemed like either Lyndon Arthur did something to get himself off the hook, or Bivol almost let him off the hook. Just didn't seem to be able to. And from what I gather and what I saw, and I think even the commentators at one point even substantiated this theory, that it seemed like he would have the guy in front of him or against the ropes, and then his onslaught was just coming in like one way instead of maybe stepping and trying some angles and attacking it from a different. He seemed to be very straight out. Maybe he just thought that he didn't give enough credit to Lyndon Arthur and just thought that he could just steamroll over him. But I don't know. He should have known after several rounds that it wasn't going to go down that way.
I mean, he pretty much did steamroll him.
He did. On the scorecards, it was a steamroller for sure.
Yeah, but he didn't. I mean, I agree. I agree with the assessment. He just was kind of straight in, straight out, just straight punches, and they weren't landing, and not that they weren't effective because they were. It just wasn't enough to get a guy out of there.
Right. I just have a hard time believing, man, that even though his overall skill set could be a little more polished than Artur Beterbiev, should that showdown happen, man, I'm not sure that if he wasn't able to get, and again, this is taking nothing away from Lyndon Arthur, man. He obviously proved that he has a great chin, but as does Beterbiev. Not that I think it's been tested a lot. He's obviously been doing a lot of the testing and a lot of the dropping guys, but I don't know if that performance against Lyndon Arthur the other night, I'll leave off on that fight saying this. I don't know if that would have been good enough to beat Artur Beterbiev.
Definitely could make that. You definitely could raise that question.
I mean, I guess it depends on the Beterbiev that shows up on the night, but I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough fight, but Bivol has done his job. He's done his job, and now Beterbiev just has to do his job, I believe, on January 24th. And he's got a tall order in front of him, but and we will be talking here to John Iceman Scully, co-trainer of Artur Beterbiev, here in the next couple of days. He's in camp with Beterbiev, so hopefully we can get an update on how things are going there, man, and catch up with our boy Iceman. That would be nice.
Yeah, definitely. Be good to see him.
I believe in a couple days. And then the fight that got my blood pumping the most as we work our way through the day of reckoning card results, Joseph Parker. So happy for this guy. One of the true good guys, man, in the sport, man. Love this guy, man. Just represents the sport with class, man. The Derek Jeter of boxing, for God's sakes, if I may dare say so, man. Class in and out of the ring, man. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. And I am happy that a win like this has springboarded him back into, it's almost like the Roy Jones line. Y'all must have forgot. But he's back, man. He's back, man. With a signature win over Deontay Wilder. And listen, man, Wilder's finished, dude. He doesn't want to come out and admit it yet, but he's done, man. He ain't never been the same fighter since the Fury fights, man.
No, that's definitely that's like super noticeable how drastically worse he's gotten.
Yeah. I mean, he's coming in at 213 pounds, man.
He didn't throw anything, dude. He didn't throw a thing.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was the introduction, I guess, I'll try to heap some excuses in there too, man, since, obviously Deontay has given us some pretty crazy ones over the years. I would like to say that maybe it was the injecting the new Deontay, the Bronze Bomb, or no, wait, how did they introduce him? The Bronze Bomber, Deontay, Dr. Sleep. I think Dr. Sleep might have been the curse. Yeah.
No, it was all one thing. It was the Bronze Bomber, Dr. Sleep. Wild.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it? Oh, man. Well, a lot like Shakur Stevenson's performance several weeks back. It was a performance that could have put people to sleep. But kudos to Joseph Parker, man. He was out there on Wilder's ass, man, and just hammering him. And I like the fact that everybody looked past him, dude. He's a true underdog story, man. Even though he shouldn't be, he can fight his ass off, dude. And it also doesn't help that, or it also doesn't hurt, I should say, that he's being trained by an excellent team. I mean, kudos to Andy Lee, a former great fighter himself, man, who's now doing a great job training fighters. A remarkable job drawing up a game plan for Joseph Parker. And, of course, it doesn't help that he happens to have a tight friendship with a little guy who knows Wilder by the name of Tyson Fury.
Dude, Joseph Parker came out in that fight. I got the hiccups, dude. I can't get rid of him. I keep trying to sip my drink and get rid of him.
What do you want to start over?
No, it's fine. I can still talk.
Yeah.
I just keep doing that because I keep getting the hiccup in there.
Very unprofessional in the podcasting world, folks. I have to apologize.
But no, I was saying though that Parker came out in that fight like a man on fire.
Yeah, he did. He had something.
Came right out round one. You could tell that he was going to start doing this thing.
Yeah,
and we'll probably it's just if a guy comes out against Wilder and starts doing his thing like that, Wilder doesn't throw a jab or do anything to get himself back into a fight. So if Wilder goes down on the cards, if he doesn't knock you out, you're going to beat him.
Yeah. And I'm just so happy for Parker, man. Just because I think people were starting to put Parker into that, even though he's way younger than Deontay. I mean, he's only in his early 30s, man. But people, I think, were starting to put him in the rear view and starting to write him off. And I don't know why, man. He's only got a few losses on his record, and they're nothing to hang your head about. They're all fucking to high caliber. Not necessarily all champions, but all guys championship caliber. He's got a loss to Joe Joyce. He's got a loss to Dillian White. He's got a loss to Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, Joe Joyce is a guy you should go back and pick him right now. Right now, go back and fight him again.
Currently Andy Ruiz has been calling out Joseph Parker quite a bit for like a rematch of their fight or whatever.
I'm just saying that's a fight that I think if Joseph Parker made a fight with Joe Joyce, it would be a good fight, but I think Parker would redeem himself with a win there.
Yeah, and Wilder just has proven, once again that he is the king of coming out afterwards and saying, hey, I make no excuses tonight. I make no excuses. And then the next day it hits the internet that his team says he spent too long in the cryo chamber, this, that, the other thing, man, one thing that I respect the most about boxers, man, is that they usually will, unless there's real animosity and bad blood, regardless of what happens to the buildup and the selling of a fight, fucking post-fight, these guys are all about shaking hands, embracing. You just shared the ring and try to bash another guy's skull in for 30 or 40 minutes. And there's always like a mutual respect. And I love nothing more than to hear a guy say, hey, fair play. I was beaten by the better man tonight. Wilder just doesn't seem to have those words in his vocabulary.
No, he does. He does the night of the fight. And then the next day he starts saying, oh, Fury was cheating. Parker was this. I was in the cryo chamber too long. My suit was too heavy. All these things. In the ring, though, he actually does kind of say the right things after the fight. Oh, I wasn't myself. I got beat. And then I don't know, man.
I mean, immediately after the fight, though, when they're announcing the scorecards, he literally has his hand up and then has to put the bewildered look on. I don't know if that's just part of the costume of persona or persona. Having to raise the hand and try to hold it up while the scores are being announced, man. Like you're confident that your name's about to be called, man. But Wilder couldn't have been so delusional, to actually think that he won that fight, man. I mean, I would find it very hard to believe, man, that that he was in any way shocked or surprised when those scores were read. I mean, preposterous.
I mean, you got your hand raised and they're reading a scorecard of a very wide spread, dude. You didn't.
Yeah. And you think you're on you think you're on the winning end of that score? I mean, come on, man. I mean, and then of course, I think this whole day of reckoning was kind of Eddie Hearn's little brainchild here. To finally pair up and get into Wembley Stadium, a big Joshua Wilder showdown. And obviously Wilder didn't do his part. And of course, they're not taking that fight off the table. I think people would still like to see it, man. But who knows? But obviously getting to the last fight of the night, though, Anthony Joshua did do his part.
Eddie Hearn is delusional, though, because of Wilder, not completing his end of the bargain pretty much, he's, trying to steer his attention at Tyson Fury. I saw, if Tyson Fury beats Usyk, that's the showdown we need is Tyson Fury versus AJ. AJ will knock him out now. All this shit. I don't know, dude, because we can't forget that AJ lost to Usyk twice. So if Fury beat Usyk, then that means I beat the guy you couldn't beat twice.
Yeah.
So do I
But
really?
again, but again, when you try to do all that convoluted math, though, it really doesn't mean much, man, because like styles and who shows up on the night really doesn't mean, oh, because I beat this guy twice and he beat you twice, that I would automatically beat you. You know, I mean,
Right.
I mean, it is kind of one of those things, like you just never know. Like
I like
it's
the
you know,
convoluted
who
math.
shows up, who shows up and puts up a better fight. Huh?
Because I said I like the convoluted math a little bit. Because I'm not gonna lie, if you and me were about to fight, and you fought this dude over here, and he beat you twice, and I whooped him twice, I'm going into that fight. I'm gonna have a lot of confidence that I'm gonna beat you, and I'm gonna let you know every chance I get. Hey, remember when this guy beat you? Oh yeah, I beat him.
Yeah.
You suck, dude. You're not as good as me. Telling
Right.
you at every turn.
But of course, boxing history has proven otherwise, though, because we did see in the event when Sugar Shea Mosley was riding a wave and on top of the world, and then the late great Vernon the Viper Forrest came along and sniped him in 2 straight fights, and then he was on top of the world. And then a guy like Ricardo Mayorga, very sloppy, very unorthodox, and also, by the way, very uncouth. But we'll get to that later or another time. But Ricardo Mayorga and certainly was on my 3-punch combo as one of the top trash talkers. Never understood any of it because it always had to be translated, but it was always brutal and cutting to the bone. But he comes along, he dethrones Forrest. And then what happens? Sugar Shea Mosley comes back around and beats Ricardo Mayorga.
Right.
But Anthony Joshua did his thing, though, dude. Yeah. Otto Wallin was, the big southpaw that will probably be best remembered for opening up that horrendous gash on Tyson Fury. I think between the first and second Wilder fight or the second and third one, I don't know, man. It was a tune-up fight for him to stay busy, man. Like while they worked out negotiations, and I think Wilder might have took a tune-up fight too. But Otto Wallin was one of those guys and did open up a nasty gash, even though obviously the Gypsy King prevailed in that fight. But Anthony Joshua, I will say it, man, and I've been critical of him and not always been the biggest fan of Anthony Joshua either, man. But he went out and did his fucking thing too. I mean, and looked good doing it.
I mean, he made that fight look easy. And I think that's where Eddie Hearn gets off saying that, because Wallin was able to open up a gash on Fury and Joshua made Wallin look easy. But again, that's the convoluted math of that. Just because he opened a cut on you and I beat him in 6 rounds means automatically I can beat you.
And Wallin just didn't come back out, I believe, or his corner threw in the towel. I can't remember, but they waved it off though. I mean,
yeah, it was somewhere around round 6, I think.
Yeah, round 6. But all in all, man, that is a stellar card from top to bottom and a lot to unpack. As I said, Bivol, couldn't put away a guy who I thought people that turned out and tuned in probably were expecting him to put away. A lot of things we did expect. I mean, we did expect Frank Sanchez to continue rolling on. Of course, we expect Jai Opetaia to keep rolling on. We didn't expect Makhmudov to get knocked out. That was a surprise.
Yep.
I don't know, like whether you'd call Dubois beating Big Baby Miller a surprise necessarily, man. But certainly one of the more, especially for me, one of the more highly anticipated fights of the night.
For me, that was one of the like going into it. I thought Wilder would do better than he did against Parker. So I didn't really view that one as a 50-50 fight. I kind of was leaning like 60-40 Wilder, honestly.
Oh, I wasn't. I was leaning about 90-10 fucking Parker.
But that was like the 50-50 fight in my mind, was Big Baby and Dubois. I still can't get rid of these hiccups, dude.
Yeah. I haven't had hiccups that long, I don't think, since I was like 5. How can you not get rid of them?
I keep trying to hold my breath. They're not going away.
Yeah, that works for me like that every single time. I hold it for like 20 seconds, dude, and they're gone.
Yeah, I keep trying. It's not working.
But a great fucking card, though, man. An absolute great card, man. And, certainly some things that we expected to have happen. A few things we didn't expect to have happen, man. But, I mean, all in all, man, a great 8 fights of boxing, man. Other promoters and promotion companies, stand up and take notice, man. The Saudis are moving in, man. They like to stage the big fights. So put the big cards together. Make them happen, man. These guys will pay the fucking freight, man. They want to have the big fights over there, man. And so I guess, since we obviously impact all of Day of Reckoning, the next big news to get to is as we wind down to the end of 2023 here, everybody's been waiting with bated breath. Who will be 2023's Fighter of the Year?
I think I got rid of him, man.
Fighter of the Year. And the Fighter of the Year, it has been announced, this is per CBS Sports, is, drum roll please, if you can even hear that, the Fighter of the Year, Alexis Arguello, are you ready? It's not you. The Fighter of the Year, Naoya Inoue.
Inoue, right?
Yeah, whatever the fuck it is. Yeah. Naoya Inoue. People know who the hell he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the monster. How about that? We'll call him the monster. And I guess he got it on the merits of his big wins over Cool Boy Steph and obviously just recently Marlon Tapales.
Right.
Other notable candidates and people that were entered into the mix were Devin Haney with his controversial win. You may say win, I may say otherwise, but his controversial decision victory over Vasily Lomachenko. And plus, we just saw him beat Regis Prograis. So, there's two good wins for him. David Benavidez got a little bit of love for his two big wins over Caleb Plant and Boo Boo Andrade.
Yep.
Don't want to mispronounce anybody's name now. Want to get everything right. I would say the boldest statement probably, and I don't know if I'm going to rock with this statement or not, Terrence Crawford, per his Twitter account, or X as it's now known, Terrence Crawford said yesterday, I am the only fighter to beat a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter this year, and the way I beat him was unmatched. 2023 Fighter of the Year is me. This is Crawford obviously speaking about himself. Some might say, but I only fought one time, but that one fight was bigger than any of the others. Now, I thought about that for a while, and I thought, boy, that's kind of a pretentious fucking thing to say, though, man. You fight one time, and you're just going to, kind of almost discredit, people that had multiple big wins. But then I really thought about it, though, and he makes a solid point. He makes a very solid point, man. I mean, he didn't just get one fucking win, man. He beat fucking Errol Spence.
In a big way.
In a massive way. Yeah. Which, again, folks, if you tune into this all the time, man, you would know. Call that one too, man. Always knew Errol Spence wasn't going to win. Wanted him to, but knew he wasn't going to.
I really wanted him to.
Just wasn't going to happen. Just wasn't going to happen. Nobody's beating Bud right now. All these other guys who want to keep calling him out, i.e. your guys like Devin Haney who want to go up to 147 and, take a crack at Bud. Don't do it. Even Brian Bomac McIntyre, his trainer, has been going on and warning these guys, look, don't go calling Bud's name out, man. It's not a wise career move, man. So, I mean, but, I would have to say, man, that Fighter of the Year, it seems to be one of those things that is more coveted than I guess I even thought. I don't know, what comes with it. I guess just to be able to brag and say you're Fighter of the Year, but I mean, I won it for people who don't know, I won it twice.
You don't
it is a big deal.
You don't really need nothing else if they say you're Fighter of the Year. Who cares how many belts I won or what I did if I was the Fighter of the Year? That's like being the MVP of the NFL or something.
Yeah,
I was the most valuable player here.
And I guess now that I look back at the Errol Spence Terrence Crawford fight, man, it was a very one-sided beatdown in a matchup that was really between, at the time, man, two undefeated guys who were both in that top, really top 3 or 4 of the pound-for-pound list, man. I mean, You know, two guys who were coming into that fight were considered, you know, the two best welterweights on the planet. You know, probably 1 and 2, and then Boots Ennis right there. I mean, but they are like the 3 best welterweights, and I believe in a lot of ways, man, still are. I don't think Errol Spence has necessarily been written off necessarily, man, irregardless of whether people think he should take this comeback or, this rematch and try to come back and run it back against Bud. Might be an ill-advised plan. Don't think it's going to go well for him, or I don't think the result's going to be any different, man. Bud's just built different, dude, man. I mean, he keeps it real, man. I mean,
fucking Omaha, Nebraska, baby.
Omaha, Nebraska, tough. Yeah, he's out there. Yeah, but they're out there shucking their corn, baby. I mean, you know, and getting fit. I mean,
you know, remember Uncle Jesse never wanted to go to Nebraska with Aunt Becky.
That's true. Yeah. Well, Uncle Jesse was a pretty boy, though. He wouldn't survive out there in the mean streets of Nebraska. You don't want to see Omaha, man. You don't want to see Omaha, man. Omaha in the house, man. And you know what, Terrence Crawford? If you catch wind of this, and I hope you do, and we certainly am rolling out the red carpet for you, would love to have you on. The invite is a standing one. Anytime, we would love to have you on. But guess what, man? I'm backing your Twitter statement, and I'm rocking with you, man. I don't necessarily think you have to be the fighter of the year, or in order to be fighter of the year, it had to have fought multiple fights, man.
Yeah, I tend to agree too.
I mean, you don't have to agree. Nobody has to agree, man.
No,
and there are people who are going to say, yeah, well, geez, the whole idea behind boxing is to stay busy, man, and take on challenges, man. And maybe, you know, people, it is easy to say, gee, Bud sat back on his laurels a little bit, man. But, I mean, come on, man. He made a boatload of money. The boxing public has been clamoring for that fight for 5 years. It was a hot ticket. The gate did great. The pay-per-view sales, I think, did relatively well. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. But, I mean, come on, man. Spence and Crawford, man. Crawford and Spence, those two names were have been fixed to each other for a long time now, man. And people have been wanting to see that fight. I don't think there's been any fight that probably had the buildup that had in recent years. I mean, that was like a Hagler-Leonard.
Pacquiao-Floyd was probably the most recent one.
Pacquiao-Floyd, yeah. I mean, you know, the Hagler-Hearns, I mean, you know, all the legendary, the Lennox Lewis, Mike Tysons, you know, that one ranked right up there, especially as far as fights that we want to see here in this current age of boxing. Spence and Crawford is now officially crossed off the list, and it looks like we're going to get to see it again. I don't know that we need to, man, but I mean, you know, we got that one scratched off. So obviously, on behalf of boxing fans out there, I think they will appreciate this. Promoters out there, ones we need to get done: Beater, Biev, and Bivol.
Benavidez, Canelo.
Benavidez, Canelo has to happen. I think we probably need. Well, it looks like we're going to get
Plant and Jamal.
Yeah, that has to happen, especially since the slap across the slap heard around the world.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we also have to see. It looks like we're going to see. Well, I guess Devin Haney against anybody. I mean,
I need Tank and Haney.
Yeah, I believe Tank and Haney is really the one that people really want to see, although I think it's extremely unlikely anytime in the near future, man. It looks like Haney's going in a different direction. And who knows? Everybody's always pointing back and forth. You're the obstacle why the fight doesn't get made. You're the obstacle. And round and round we go, man. But Devin Haney, a polarizing figure, whether you like him or not, he does really legitimately seem interested in making big fights, though. I mean, he already called the type of year that he would like to have in 2024/2025. But his next 4 fights in his mind were laid out as Ryan Garcia, which I don't even know if that's really necessary. But I mean, still, it's a fight that'll attract a lot of money. And then I'm trying to think of the names again.
It was Garcia, and then
Lopez, Tiafimo,
and Tank, and Crawford.
Yeah, which is very ambitious, man. Very ambitious, man. I mean, that is really saying, hey, I'm looking to make some big fights.
Dude, if those were his next 4 fights and he won all 4 of those fights, call him fighter of the decade.
Retire.
Call him fighter. Just skip ahead and call him fighter of the decade.
Hey, I don't care what age I was at. If I rolled those 4 wins off, I'm done in the game. I'm done in the game. He's already got fucking 30 fights under his belt, man. If he won those 4 fights and they were hypothetically his next 4 fights, which realistically they probably will not be, man, and he ran his record to 34-0, and you looked him up on BoxRec, and those were the last 4 fucking names he had on there.
Right. And then even before that, his last 6 included Prograis and Loma.
Yeah, forget it, dude. He goes down as one of the greatest of all time, man. He just catapults himself right into the category. Whether you want him in there, boxing fans, or not, he's in there.
Right. If he did that.
Yeah, nothing you can do about it, man.
That would be an unprecedented run, dude. Loma, knocking off Loma, Prograis, Garcia, Tank, fucking Crawford, all those guys. That would be an unprecedented run.
Yeah,
that's a Floyd-esque run.
Yeah, it is. And in this day and age, man, it's much harder to get.
That's the difference, because no joke, that's what Floyd would do. Floyd's next 4 fights would be those guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he would fight him. Like,
say what you want about Floyd. He's another guy who's very polarizing in the boxing game. You know, he draws opinions out of folks, man. People either love him or they hate him. There's not really much gray area, not really much middle ground, man. And, you know, his detractors will say that guys were too young or past their prime or handpicked at this stage of his career or that stage of his career, or they'll say that he ran or that he didn't have, you know, that he didn't slug it out with guys enough. His fights weren't action-packed.
Pretty much every name that needs to be there is there.
Yeah. And that's no disrespect to other guys who have done that too. I mean,
Pacquiao?
Senator Pacquiao has done a great job. Yeah. Even
Oscar.
Canelo to a certain extent. He's starting to crawl up there, huh?
Oscar,
a lot of good names, man. Yeah, it's harder to collect names now. I think now that we're in, we talked about this recently with one of our guests. You know, with social media becoming such a presence in the sport, it seems like sometimes like these guys get a little comfortable just arguing from afar, you know, but nothing gets done. But then I got to take a step back and realize, though, man, that, you know, it's also the promoters and stuff, and you know, working out contractual, crunching numbers and figuring out what everyone's going to get paid, you know, because I'm sure a lot of these guys, man, if they had their way, they would just say, all right, I'll meet you here at this time and this day and we'll fight, you know?
Right.
I don't think that anybody really ducks anybody. I don't know if that exists in the boxing world. I think it's more just, you know, promoters just like, you know, see how much they can make off of a fight, you know? Jesus, this makes sense, you know, financially, but.
So before we sign off for tonight, we said it here first on Off the Couch Boxing. Shout out Inui, but man, Crawford should have been the fighter of the year.
Terrence, we agree with you, man. And as I said, I hope you will see that. I wanted to get you completely accurate right there. Of course, there is your Twitter, your Twitter post right there. I quoted you verbatim. 2023 Fighter of the Year is me, and I gotta say, man, you know, I probably would, you know, if I was looking at, let's say, like, it is not to in any way impugn Inui's wins this year. Cool Boy Steph, highly regarded. You know, Marlon Tapales, highly regarded, man. But I would trade those 2 names for an Errol Spence on my resume.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not to knock those guys at all, man. But I mean, like, you know, he reeled in a bigger fish. I mean,
and mollywopped him, dude. Had him hurt in round 2.
Yeah, and just totally dominated him.
Let's think back and remember. We just watched Tapales. He didn't have them hurt in round 2. And I knew he didn't even have Cool Boy Steph hurt in round 2.
No. And the way Crawford just came out and just really dominated, man, and just really punctuated it with a statement. You know, it could have turned into a grueling 12-round war and gone to the cards, man. But Crawford just didn't allow it. He went out and just did what he wanted to do. And also, let's not let people forget, man, that Terrence Crawford also went out there and fought pound for pound one of the best in the world in Errol Spence Jr., a top 5 pound for pound fighter at that time, and went out and fought him southpaw.
Right.
Didn't even fight him in his fucking stronger stance and made him look easy. said, you know what? I'm going to handicap myself. I don't know. It's really a handicap for Terrence because he's so adept at being able to adapt and switch. A lot of times you forget, Jesus Christ, you're watching this guy and you're thinking, is he Orthodox or is he Southpaw? I don't even fucking know. But assuredly, I can let people know he is a right-handed fighter, man. But if I'm not mistaken, I think every second of that Spence fight, he fought left-handed. And he's done that other times, man. So that's no big whoop to him. I mean, lefty, righty, it doesn't even fucking matter. But yeah, so there was a lot to unpack. Day of reckoning. Promoters, stand up and take notice. That's the way to put together a fucking fight card, man. Give us 8 fucking good ones, and we'll lay down our pay-per-view dollars.
Yep.
Preferably, we'd like to just pay for one channel or a platform or whatever, man, and have everything inclusive. But however it goes, man, it'll be an interesting year to see where boxing ends up in January.
Here we come, 2024. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Find us on Facebook. Shout out fucking Gary Busey. I can go 15 seconds with anything, baby.
Yeah, and Happy New Year to all of our fucking audience out there, man. If you're watching right now, definitely like, subscribe, hit the notification button, man. Keep tuning in. Way more awesome content still to come in 2024. Upward and onward for the Off the Couch Boxing Podcast. If you want to be a champion, then you got to roll with the champs.